Hello everybody, Carpal Tunnel Gamer here, CTG for short, and today I am bringing you my top 5 favorite games that I like to play with Carpal Tunnel Syndrome. These are just the top 5 games that I really have played and have gotten me through this last over a year of having Carpal Tunnel Syndrome and not necessarily being able to play games. So these are the ones that really helped me the most, and they are in order, though they're all great in my opinion. So coming in at number 5 is Soda Dungeon 2. And to reiterate, the reason that I have to make this list is because realistically, with Carpal Tunnel Syndrome, we are looking for the best, most fun gameplay value that we can get with realistically the least amount of actions or clicks that we can do for the game. And I think this game fits that role perfectly. And the best way for me to explain Soda Dungeon is that it's a dungeon crawling game where the whole goal of the game is to get to the highest floor you can before perishing, coming back to town, upgrading your gear, rebuilding a party, and going back into the dungeon for another attempt. The best part of this game is that once you hire a character, gear will automatically be put on your character, and you can get permanent upgrades to make you stronger so that you can make it farther into the dungeon. And as far as I'm aware, you can really just go on forever, and it is quite a fun gameplay loop as long as watching your characters fight harder and harder bosses and harder floors is for you. And this part by far is the most click intensive part, and you barely even have to be here. And the only reason that I can say that is because the battling portion of this game, there is a button for you to AFK. You choose which floor you want to start on. At the beginning of the game, you'll start at 1, but later on you can start at whatever floor that you have made it to in increments of 10. But there is just an auto start button, or an auto fight button. You can absolutely go ahead and click and, fight the monsters regularly, but this is a video for people with carpal tunnel. This is the least amount of clicks for the most amount of fun, right? And having a button where people auto battle, they auto use their abilities and things like that is just perfect for us. And as you can see, we're just going through the levels, fighting all these monsters, not having to click a thing, and everything is just going well. And this game, while maybe not the most interactive and most fun, there are meaningful choices that you can make in it. I think some of the bosses that you can fight have interesting and cool mechanics that you can kind of shape and build your team around to battle them better or beat. And the graphics and things are cartoony, but the effects and everything about the game is visually pleasing enough to at least keep me entertained for a while. I don't think this is a game that I can play for, a month at a time. But when I'm feeling a little bit bored and if you don't want to watch a TV show or anything like that, you can go ahead, hop in a dungeon, fight some monsters, fight some bosses, and just have something fun to stare at or something off to the side while you watch YouTube videos that's getting progression, showing progression, and showing something meaningful. And for my number 4 game, it is a game called Worldbox, which is a sandbox god-playing game where you place units, control what happens in the world, and the best part about it from a perspective of Carpal Tunnel is you can just sit them there and let them do whatever they want while you watch. And as you can see, it is a very pixel art looking game, but the map is randomly generated and there's a lot for you to look at and be pleasant with and see all sorts of different biomes. And there's plenty of options to look at the game, change how the world works. You can make it so random events happen. You can change it so that kingdoms grow, people live on. You can even have it where people get angry at the kingdoms that they live in and rebel and make their own kingdoms. So if you think it's just something where it's like people building their own kingdoms, it is a lot more than that, because kingdoms will grow, kingdoms will go to war against each other, and there is a chance that people will be unhappy with their ruler and start a rebellion to make their own kingdom and go to war with the kingdom that they were already in. So the world is always changing, but you can also just make it whatever you want. You do not have to put any of those features into the game at all. And that's what makes it really cool. And once you're done placing everything that you feel like you are happy with, you can just stop. You can just sit back and watch how the world changes, how it develops, the wars that happen, how the environment changes. And there's even things like natural disasters in this game that can change how the environment works, or, destroy entire cities, and much, much more. This game really has tons and tons of options to just let you do whatever you want with that world. There's loads of different kinds of humans you can put into the game. I think you can even put orcs into the game. You can put different kind of animals into the game, like crocodiles. Shoot, there's even like a massive crab that shoots lasers that you can do. And if you're not certain at any point that you're not understanding what's happening, there's all of these menus that can show you exactly what's going on. Like that says alliances, shows you exactly which alliances, or who's going to war with who's attacking who, and so much more that you can see from other menus of the game, so that you can maybe see exactly what's happening and change it if you want to, or again, just sit back. Like once you are done placing the first few settlers around the world, you actually don't have to do anything for the world to just continue to grow and become bigger. That being said, despite this being one of the coolest, funnest, most unique game with the most ways to build it, where you can place all these different animals and creatures and really build the world how you want to, I would say that it's not something that can necessarily hold my attention for a long, long amount of time. I can definitely sit there and watch it for 5 hours one night, but then not really necessarily the next night being like, oh, I want to watch it again. But if you're into that kind of stuff and like to see how diplomacy in like a kind of game works, like how the wars work and how people interact to those things, obviously they're not real people, but it can absolutely give you an insight to things like that. And if that is something that you are interested in, I would be more than happy to recommend you to play this game. I think it is worth it, just for the fact that you can just pull it out whenever you want and just have a good blast for hours at a time. But before moving on to the next game, here's a little bit of footage of what you can expect from just placing people down into the game and them immediately going and interacting with the environment, and how each environment interacts with different people. You see how I put these guys in some dangerous biome with lava and they're dying. But you see I put them here in the forest, and big maps, different biomes, and of course, you place different people around in different areas to simulate different societies. And look, they immediately start gathering resources, they start building, they start making a society. And that's what will happen with every single little group of people that you place down, until they make cities, until they grow to build armies, and then they can attack one another, or they could just choose to advance civilization with their own science and things like that. Each one has their own kings, and you can see them all running around on the big map to kind of see where each individual civilization is. Which brings us to our number 3 game, Super Auto Pets. And the caveat to this one, at least for me, is I only play this on mobile, because playing this on the computer requires a lot of clicking, which isn't necessarily good for carpal tunnel, and I have tried it, and it really flares it up and makes it really bad and makes it really painful. But I have a lot of better luck playing this game on mobile devices. So, what is Super Auto Pets? Well, Super Auto Pets is an auto battler game. If you've seen like League of Legends Auto Battler, I don't remember exactly what it's called, or the Dota Auto Battler that kind of started it all, or Hearthstone Battlegrounds, you get to choose from these different kinds of creatures that you can roll in each tier as you progress farther through the game. You buy them, you upgrade them, you buy like items for them, and then they fight other players and teams, and you see how well you can do. Your goal is to get to 10 wins before you lose 5 times, possibly 6, depending on, there is a safety window on turn 3 that if you lose before turn 3, it'll give you a free life, or maybe turn 2. I don't remember exactly. But each of these packs that you're seeing here all have different pets. So the thing about the game is that it is free to play, but you can buy more packs to gain more pets. And as you can see here, this is a create your own pack. It's called custom pack, where if you own all of the packs, you can make your own where you pick 10 pets from each tier and 2 to 3 items from each tier, and you use that to play against other people who have made their own packs, trying to get to those 10 wins before everybody else does. And in this game, once you have chosen a pack to play, there are multiple different modes that you can play. Arena is where you just play against other people and try to get to 10 wins. Versus is where you go against one other person and you try to build a team that counters their team while they are trying to build a team that counters your team. The mode that I have played is Arena because I think it's the most fun, where you just build the best team that you can and you have no idea what you're going to go up against besides somebody who has played the same amount of rounds as you, so it's fair. And you can name your teams, which I think is a great part of the game. It's randomized as well, and I think it can lead to some really funny names. And so once you buy your pets, you get 10 gold a turn. They auto-bat them, right? I'm not clicking anything, I'm not doing anything, and that is just how the game is played. The farther along that you get, the more pets you unlock for that game, the more different items that you get, and you can level up pets to get pets from a higher tier, and there's lots of strategy involved to make the best team that you can, which I like and I find the most fun about this game. And right here, I am showing off the late game that you can play with all the different sorts of pets, the level ups that you can get to unlock the higher tier pets, and all the different items and all the different things that you can do with this game. Just to buff your team, make them as good as you can. All of them have unique abilities that happen at the end of your turn, at the start of your combat, when they die, when they attack, and just so many. Each individual pet is different, and that's what makes this game so fun, because not everybody's packs are the same, because you build your own packs, and every pet that you have has a unique ability, which is just fantastic and makes the game so unique and so fun. And I highly recommend trying this game, especially on mobile. I don't think I would play it on PC with Carpal Tunnel. And with that out of the way, we come to our number 2 game, which is Melvor Idol. This was really, really hard for me to choose whether this was my number 1 or my number 2 game, because this one is way less click intensive and has been the game that I've played through with Carpal Tunnel the most. But I really, really have enjoyed game number 1 that you'll see here soon, but it's way more click intensive. So let's hop into Melvor Idol here, into my main hardcore account that I've been playing. It allows you to be exited from the game for 24 hours, and the game will run while you are out of the game doing whatever you want it to do. On this character, I was crafting red dragonhide bodies. There's so much involved in this game. What you're looking at is the shop, where you unlock upgrades, you buy skill capes, and if you've played old school RuneScape, this is basically just a more idle version of old school RuneScape. Or just RuneScape in general, to be honest, like RuneScape 3. And as you see on the left, there's all those different skills that are the same as the ones that you'd find in RuneScape. But the thing about this game is it's less click intensive. And I know you would look at RuneScape and say, well, isn't that game like mostly AFK anyways? You think that until you actually play the game and you realize how much clicking there is involved. And those are things that you notice more with things like Carpal Tunnel. But as you can see, the shop is so vast. The amount of skills are so insane. You have a bank that you can upgrade to get more slots, and these are all items that you can hold in your bank. I know it's unorganized, but I'm not organized yet in this game, but I will be. But there is thousands of items, hundreds of monsters, tons of bosses to fight, multiple dungeons, multiple Slayer areas. And though combat in this game is not interesting, really, because it is just you clicking on a monster to say fight it, and then your character just fights it. There's nothing really going on. There's only a progress bar that shows each time you attack, and you have a health bar. But your character, once you unlock it at the very beginning of the game, your character can auto-eat. Your character can just keep their prayers up forever. And it is actually really fun just because of the sense of progression that you feel when playing the game. I know it's not very active or anything like that, but you unlock all this different gear. You feel yourself progressing. You get these cool items, and it makes you feel like you're doing something, even if the game isn't necessarily that visually pleasing. It hurts me to not put this at number one, because this game is the one that has gotten me through having Carpal Tunnel for over a year now. But my number one game really has been the most fun, though it tends to hurt my wrists because there is a lot more clicking. But I have learned to play number one without so much. But I would say this one is right up there with number one. It does cost $10, I think. It goes on sale pretty frequently and has a few expansions that come with other things, new Slayer areas and things like that, or new level caps up to 120 instead of 99. You know, all you have to do to cut trees is click on one of these trees and get to chopping. And these are just all of the skills that you can see. And there's so much content to consume in this game that you can go... I've been playing for over a year, and I'm still not even really that close to done with the game. As you can see, like, this is around 55%. There's just so many collectibles, so many different things that you can do, and everything is logged. There was the pets. Here's all the monsters you can fight in the game. The question marks are ones that I haven't fought yet. You know, it shows all the skills, how far you've gotten all these skills, which also shows on the left the mastery of those skills, and also what items you have, and tells you what items you have gotten, which items you haven't gotten, which is really cool. So you can be a completionist when you play this game, which I really, really like. And last, but certainly not least, is Bloons Tower Defense 6, or the Bloons franchise in general. If you haven't seen these games, or you haven't played them before, you're really, really missing out. You know, Bloons came out when I was a kid, and I remember playing it in school and having a blast with it. This is number one, though if you have extremely, extremely bad carpal tunnel and can't keep it under control, this one does have quite a bit of clicking involved with the game. But if you do not know what this game is, it is a tower defense game where you place different monkeys to pop different rounds of balloons. And here you can see all the different kind of monkeys, bomb tower, attack tower, and all sorts of different towers that each have 3 different upgrade paths that they can go that you can see here. And some of them even have like a super unlock called a Paragon, which makes them even cooler. You have to get the gold tier of 3 of the same monkey, each different gold tier, and then you build it as the Paragon. So there's so many different builds you can do, thousands and thousands of different builds you can do. There's right now, I think, I don't know the exact number, but there's a bunch of heroes. 15 it looks like, if I can do math correctly. 15 different heroes, all with their different skins. And the cool thing is you can buy them with real money, but you can also just get them with in-game currency. Having the heroes in the game really does make it cool and unique because you can play with a different hero each time. There's also tons and tons of different maps. Those were all beginner maps. Here's all the intermediate maps. And they get harder and harder as you go along through the game. Here are some advanced maps. You have to unlock them as you go by beating beginner, then intermediate, then advanced, then expert. But expert maps tend to have their own quirkiness to them where they have their own abilities and things that happen in the map. There's the 3 different difficulties. You got easy, medium, and hard. And on top of that, in each different one, there is different levels that you can choose, like different game modes that show you different ways to play the game. So here's an example of the game. This is the first map you ever play in the game usually. And if I'm not mistaken, was the very first map that they put in the first Bloons game. And you just place down your towers. I just placed down my hero Geraldo here. Started the round. And here comes these balloons that are trying to get through your defenses. And if enough of them make it through the end... Oh, and you have auto start so that you don't ever have to manually start the rounds, which is good for not clicking. Good for the carpal tunnel. And depending on which mode you're playing on, which difficulty, you have a different amount of lives. And in this one you have 200, and this one says plus 25, but that comes with a thing called monkey knowledge, which is something that you just earn throughout playing the game. And unlocking it, your account will get more powerful the more you level up and play the game. And as you can see, there's all these different kinds of towers that you can place, all with their unique paths that you can upgrade them on. And you can choose 2 paths to make a single monkey, and the second path that you choose, the one that's going to be lowest, you can only do 2 upgrades on, which the other one you can do 5 upgrades on. So there's really thousands of different ways that you can play this game, and different play styles and different modes that you can do. So a lot of these towers, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think every tower might have one activated ability in one of their paths that you can choose. But again, I could be entirely wrong. I choose not to play with that because, well, I'd want to press the least amount of buttons as possible. And they are abilities that you have to press in order to activate, and you have to time them. And playing that with Carpal Tunnel just isn't the best thing. In this scenario I'm showing you, I am showing off just a bunch of different towers. But these are not the things that I would play in the game. My goal when playing this game, to help with Carpal Tunnel Syndrome, because it can be a lot of clicking, is to buy as few towers as possible with as few upgrades as possible to beat the map. And I've learned over hundreds of hours of playing the game which ones I like to go for the most and make it easier for me to play without being click intensive. And there's different types of balloons with different levels, and there's like boss balloons that you can kill, and each different kind of balloon has its own weakness that some towers can counter, some towers can't even deal with at all. And there's so much depth in this game, and it's so cool to see all the different unique things that you can do in this game. If you want to, you can play every single game differently. And you will have to change your strategies the farther and farther you go up in difficulty with this game, which I think is so cool. I think it's just amazing, and this is why it comes in at number 1 for me. Because despite it being a lot more click intensive than Melvor Idol, I find this one to be much more entertaining. It really helps me think, come up with strategies, and makes me feel like I am actually playing a game. Melvor Idol doesn't necessarily make me feel like I'm playing a game. The game is playing itself, which is good. That's fantastic. Like I said, I love that game to death. But this one, especially over the last couple of months, I have just had the most fun with, especially when you figure out what towers work for you, how much you can place in a round, and the best part is, if your wrists start to get sore, you can absolutely pause the game and it will save where you were on this map so that you can come back later and take breaks. Alright, and that is my top 5 favorite games to play with Carpal Tunnel. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I know this video isn't going to be fantastic, but like I said, I'm going to learn, I'm going to do better, and I hope you guys got some enjoyment out of the video, some good information about what you might be able to play, and maybe found some new games and try them out. And please let me know how they are working for you with your carpal tunnel. If you have finally found the passion to finally play games again and, you know, not hurt yourself with this syndrome. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.